Hi, and welcome. You're listening to the X22 Report. My name is Dave, and this is episode 838A, and today's date is December 9th, 2015, and the title of the episode is, The Economy is in Full Recovery. The U.S. government would never lie to you. Let's get right into the economic collapse financial news. Now, yesterday I talked about how the government continually lies to the people, and they're telling the world, and especially the people in the United States, that we are in a recovery. And they're telling us that everything is fine, unemployment is at 5%, it's going even lower, and all those people that have fallen off the unemployment, they really don't want work. And they're trying to convince us that the housing market, the retail market, it's all fine. And when we go back in time, we see things are not what they seem. Now, I've looked at this many, many times, and I decided, you know what, let's see how much we actually spent on Black Friday going back to 2011, going to 2012, 2013, 2014, to the present. And what was the actual unemployment numbers during that time period? So we should see, as more and more people get jobs, we should see people out there spending more money because they're secure in their jobs, they found jobs, and the unemployment is continually dropping. So if we go back to Black Friday on 2011, there was a record of $52.4 billion that was spent. Now, over the year, I averaged out the unemployment, and it was around 9%. In the months of November and December, unemployment was, in November, 8.6%, December, 8.5%. Okay. On Black Friday in 2012, let's look at the total spending. It increased from $59.4 billion to $59.1 billion. Now, the unemployment for that year, averaged it out, it was about 8%. November was 7.7%, December 7.9%. That seems about right. Yes, more people are employed, and more people are spending money. Seems fair. And then something strange in 2013 on Black Friday. The total amount spent dropped to $57.4 billion. Now, what's very interesting is that the unemployment rate averaged out for that year at 7.5%. November was at 7%. December, it dropped down to 6.7%. So we had the amount drop. Black Friday 2014. We see the total spending has now dropped to $50.9 billion. Unemployment averaging out that year is around 6%. November was 5.8, December 5.6. So now the amount being spent in retail is dropping. And there are more people employed, which really doesn't make any sense at this point. Because prior to this, when we look at those years that were actually recovering, we saw the opposite happen. So that brings us up to Black Friday of this year and Thanksgiving. And they're already reporting that this number is going to be around 45 billion or so. And this is an estimate at this point, and it might even be lower than that, because usually their estimates are higher. But the average unemployment is at 5.3% for the year, and in November it's at 5%. December, we don't know yet, but we know it's going to at least be 5%. It might even drop to 4.9 to round out the year to say, wow, what an incredible year. So what we're seeing is unemployment is falling, and sales for the holiday season is getting worse and worse as time goes on. So somebody's lying here. Now, these numbers were taken from the National Retail Federation, and the unemployment numbers were taken from the government. These are their official numbers. So something's going on here that isn't correct. And the number of shoppers that are actually out there shopping has decreased also. Now everyone goes, oh, it must be the online sales. Well, guess what? The online sales do not make up the difference that is being lost here. Because each year for online sales, it's around anywhere from 9 to 15 billion. And it really doesn't counter what is really going on here. Because during the year of 2012 and 2013, online sales were pretty much the same. 2014, very close to being that same 10 billion number. And this year, very close for being the 10 billion. So that's kind of a constant at this point. And what we're seeing right now is that this whole thing that they're trying to convince us of is a complete lie. More and more people are not working. More and more people are out of a job. If we go to Challenger, Gray, and Christmas, who are reporting how many people are being laid off, we are approaching, from June of 2014 to December of 2015, 1 million people. And there are more and more layoffs that are occurring. And when we look around at real estate, we see lumber prices dropping while construction is increasing. Demand for lumber is dropping as construction is increasing. Of course, this is what the government is telling us, that the construction is increasing. So something, again, is not right. The mortgage applications are in a downward trend. Actually, most of the banks and financial institutions have laid off most of their mortgage departments. Thousands upon thousands of people, because they knew the people would be out of work and they couldn't take out mortgages. Why do you think they're modifying how you can get a mortgage at this time? It's not because the economy is doing well. It's not because people are making an incredible amount of money and they have great credit. It's because people have bad credit, people can't find jobs, people have part-time jobs, and they're trying to figure out a way to bring more and more people into the market to blow up the bubble. It's happening in the auto loan industry, and it's happening in the housing industry. And this is why we see all these modifications. Why in the world would the government have to modify student loans? And the way they're modifying it is how much you're making. Because if everyone coming out of college is finding this fantastic job like the president is telling us, because unemployment is at 5%, they wouldn't have to continually modify millions and millions and millions of student loans. They wouldn't be necessary, because if we go back in time during a recovery, during a period like this where unemployment was at 5%, 4.9, 4.8, we didn't have any of this. It wasn't needed. But today, it is needed, because this is a fake, phony economy. And they're pumping it up until the last minute when the whole thing comes crumbling down. Now we're getting other indicators that the market, the economic market, is not doing well. We see October wholesale inventories have dropped by 0.1%. They missed their expectations of 0.2. So inventory to sales ratio is at 1.31 right now. This is post-crisis highs. Now, if we look at the inventory to sales ratio, and we go back in time, back to 2001, when we had a recession, that number was at 1.35. When we look at 2008, that number hit 1.4. We are now at 1.31. We've already hit that area, and it's continually trending upward. The Baltic Dry Index has fallen once again, down to 546. This is the raw material that factories use to create the goods. And we know manufacturing is in complete decline at this time. We see that the last time oil plunged below $38 a barrel, Guess what? It was back during the Great Depression and in 2008. Right now, the U.S. oil is around 37 and change. Nations such as Japan, Canada, Brazil, and Russia, they've plunged into recession. Actually, we're just getting reports now that Russia is coming out of the recession. More than half of all major global stock market indexes are down at least 10% year to date. And it looks like OPEC is going to produce and push out even more oil. And some are even predicting that the price per barrel is going to go to 30, 25, and maybe even 20. So this is a huge, huge problem. So what else happened that's happening right now? When we had the Great Depression, the Great Recession, well, junk bonds. Junk bonds, which they're not really junk. They simply have a higher risk and thus a higher return than other bonds of the same type. If stocks are going to crash, you would expect to see a junk bond crash first. This happened in 2008. And it is happening again right now. Monday, a high-yield bond ETF known as JNK crashed through a psychologically important 35 barrier for the first time since the last financial crisis. And we are getting all these different type of indicators to let us know that this economy is completely and utterly falling apart. Global GDP growth has gone negative for the first time since 2009. Corporate earnings growth has turned negative. S&P 500 net profit margins are steeply declining. In October, U.S. import of goods declined by 6.6% year over year. In October, U.S. exports of goods declined by 10.4% year over year. U.S. manufacturing, like I said, is contracting at the fastest pace that we've seen since the last recession. Corporate debt defaults have risen to the highest level that we've seen since the last recession. All of this is happening all at once. All of this is a complete repeat of what happened in 2008. The difference today is that all those people who lost their wealth, lost their home, lost their job, never recovered, got a part-time job, got a job making less money, do not own a house, don't have savings, maybe on food stamps, maybe they're off the job market trying to recover still. Guess what? They haven't recovered. And we're coming up to the next wave at this point. We're coming to a point where those people that weren't affected the last time are going to be affected this time. Now, I'm not wishing anything upon these people. I don't want them to lose their jobs. I don't want them to lose their homes. Actually, I don't want any of this to happen. I wish we had peace in the world. I wish we didn't have war. I wish there wasn't any reason to have troops in any country. I wish the government would work for the people and support the country. Actually support the veterans that come back from battle, instead of leaving them off on the streets to defend for themselves. I mean, these are all the things that we all want. We want to make a good living. We want to have a family. We want to support the family. We would like to go on vacations. We don't want to worry about debt continually rising because the government is sending money off to foreign governments. We don't want to worry about our job being lost because of what the central bankers are doing. And people are writing in saying, what are the solutions to all of this? What can we do? Well, let me just tell you. Living a simpler life, cutting out basic needs, trying to make it every day by selling off different things, this is not a solution. The solution goes much, much deeper than that. Yes, if you have a sickness, you can take medication to mask it. You can try to do things to help you work through it, but you need to go to the heart of the disease. You need to know what's causing it. You need to know, why is this happening? And the reason for all this is the central bank. As long as the central bank is in control, as long as they are creating money or currency out of thin air, loaning it to the government with interest, this problem that we have today is not going to go away. It will always be here. The solution to all of this is to remove the central bank. That is the move that we need to make. This is what we need to do at this point. Because once that is removed and the government creates the currency, backing it by something that is real, with no interest attached, they can balance the books. There would be no other entity controlling them. And of course, we need to make other changes down the line. But this is one of the solutions, and this is one of the things we need to accomplish at this time. Listen, everyone, thanks a lot for listening. Be well, be safe, and especially be prepared. Thanks a lot.